Here we go. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show underway for another day on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is, as you might expect, Matt Murphy. It is Wednesday, August 7, 2024, and we thank you for being around today. Whatever time you're able to give us, we're certainly appreciative of that. It is Locks for Trump Day 158. If you happen to be watching on Super Talk TV right now, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, you'll see my flowing locks are underneath my Go Fast Don't Die cap, as I rode 2 wheels in today and not 4, so I've got to be-cap myself throughout the duration of the show. My apologies to those of you who have to suffer through on Super Talk TV. Once again, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. It is episode 626 of our proceedings today on the broad platform, 99.7 FM from Southern Kentucky and Northern Alabama, all points in between. We broadcast on those said same airwaves, and we appreciate you for being you and being out there and joining us for whatever amount of time you're able to give us, whether it's 5 minutes or the full 3 hours. We also have other opportunities for you to listen on internet streaming platforms. You can go to whatever platform you use, and I know that we're real broad about that, but it's true. Whether it's iHeart or Spotify or TuneIn or wherever it might be that you listen to music or news or talk or information or podcasts, you type in Super Talk 99.7 WTN, take us wherever you go, and we appreciate you doing so. We also have our own platform, and you can download our app in your app store at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Is Kamala Harris going to answer any questions from the... I do. I used to love the old cheese wagon.
Put that hand up, baby.
Love a yellow school bus myself. It is the question that I want to delve into first on Super Talk 99.7 WTN and the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour. Now, we'll get into Tim Walz. A lot of folks have commentary about Tim Walz. Is he ultra-liberal? Yes, of course he is. Will the mainstream media try to paint him as something different than his record demonstrates? Of course they will. They have now begun the process of doing said same with Kamala Harris, and they obviously will do that with Tim Walz. This is designed to convince stupid people that these are not radicals. And I'm not saying that to be inflammatory. I'm saying that to be direct. It is true. Only stupid people would buy into the concept that Tim Walz is anything other than a radical leftist. Only people who choose not to absorb information readily available to them, as much as big tech media wants to keep you from it, you can get to it. As much as Google, as much as Zuckerberg, as much as some of these others want to prevent that information from being available to you, it is absolutely available to you. And so I would suggest that this is not a matter of ignorance, it's a matter of stupidity. However, last I checked, in the United States of America, stupid people are allowed to vote. Sadly, stupid people are allowed to vote. I think it's a very unfortunate consequence of our nation's history and our sad nation testimony on racial inequality over the years that we can't have conversations about making sure that people have a basic understanding of their government and what their government is there to provide and what it's not there to provide before people go to the polls and act like idiots. But we're not allowed to have that discussion anymore. No matter how equitable I try to make it, we're not allowed to have that discussion because of our unfortunate past. What with poll taxes and other things that were used to specifically discriminate against people of color regarding their voting rights years ago. Y'all, am I making sense, Bell? What I'm saying making sense right now?
Yes, absolutely.
That because it was used against black people in the way that it was, putting up barriers against their ability to vote, we can't today have a reasonable conversation about whether or not we should expect that people understand our government before they go and cast a ballot.
Yeah, I agree. I don't. Like, you're obviously simplifying it down to a fine point, right? But I completely agree with what you're saying.
Is it too much to ask that people have a basic concept about government and what government is there to do and what it's not there to do before they go and they vote?
I would say it is a little too much to ask when we are discussing people educated in government schools.
Sadly, you are correct. That's the voice of Bell K. You'll hear his voice often on the Matt Murphy Radio Show. You will not see his face on Supertalk TV because Bell chooses to remain headless. So we call him Headless Bell. But he does participate in this way. He often offers us a title of our episodes on Supertalk Television and on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. If it's up and running and you're watching, then you'll see the title right there in front of you. For those not, episode 626 is entitled
Matt Murphy reminds you, being neighborly does not include any government action ever.
I don't think it can. No matter what's his name? Tampon Tim? Yeah. Is that what we're calling him? What do we call? I was thinking about everybody's getting their own nicknames in line. They're trying to figure out the nicknames for Kamala. And we've done our share of all of that. Kamala the Coronated and Candidate Zero. I like to call her Candidate Zero because it represents the specific number of votes that Kamala Harris has ever received for president of the United States of America. It is 0.
Yeah.
She has not received a single vote for president of the United States. So I like Candidate Zero. But there have been a lot of them. And yeah, what did Trump called her? Kamala.
I saw that. I didn't quite understand. What was that born out of?
Comma, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I mean, I kind of like it if you do it that way. If you say comma, blah, 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 I might actually take that one up.
That's pretty
It's
funny,
pretty
actually.
good.
Yeah.
Comma, blah, blah, blah. What, am I mispronouncing a name? Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought it was comma, blah, blah, blah. My Trump often becomes someone, it's never been a good Trump. I don't claim that it's a good Trump. But my Trump often becomes something else, and I'm trying to figure out what it is. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's I don't know. It's a mafia star. I don't know what it's. I don't know what I'm doing over here.
It sort of devolves into just a regular New York accent.
Right. I'm walking over here. I'm walking. But last night I was trying to come up with, everybody was going with Tampon Tim on social media because of what he has done, and that's a little, I don't want to force conversations with parents and kids in the cars. Maybe your kids aren't back at school yet or whatever. So
that's such a mean nickname, though. I mean, why would you not want boys to have the tampons they need?
Well, Tim Walz made sure that they.
Oh, absolutely.
They did, Bell.
He took up the cause, man.
That's right, and he took one for the team, so to speak, and he made sure that we had them in our 4th and 5th and 6th grade bathrooms, in the boys' bathrooms there in Minnesota. That was a priority of his. And his record just absolutely speaks for itself. But Tim Walz, I don't know why, but last night I kept calling him Tim No Balls. But maybe is that too harsh?
Bad. That's. I
don't know. I feel like it's a stretch.
It's slightly cliche, but it's not bad. It's still. I think it's very representative of what he represents.
If you want to know where those are, though, his wife was on stage last night. She's got them in her pocket. Did you see? Like Ms. I don't know. Did she take his name? I don't want to assume anything about these folks.
You'll be suspended for a week.
Right? I mean, maybe she hyphenated or maybe she kept her name. Perhaps. I don't know. But did you see her on stage? I did not catch this live when it happened. She tried to shake his hand.
Her husband's hand?
Yep.
Awesome. Yep. Why? I mean, even Jill would hug Joe.
And hell, and Doug Emmert's kissing everybody.
Is that Kamala's husband?
Is it Emmeroff, whatever his name? Yeah. Doug. Doug's smooching on everybody. Doug is, he's kissing on Jill. He's kissing on comma blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Comma blah, blah, blah. I was listening to Nashville's Morning News this morning with Dan Mandis. And I was right.
I have to interrupt real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
In any personal situation, would you ever shake your wife's hand versus hugging her?
No.
Or saying or kissing her, even if you're just trying to be platonic, you'd kiss your wife on the cheek. You wouldn't go up and shake Erica's hand.
No.
That's just odd.
I cannot tell you the last time I shook her hand. Or any partner you've ever had in your life.
When was the last time you gave her a kiss?
Oh,
if you have to think about it, we're in trouble.
The point being, when's the last time you gave your cat a kiss?
Last night.
Oh, gross. What about Spicy? Those are a little trickier.
That's much trickier. Got to make sure she's been fed.
Right. Does she ever flick the tongue out and hit you with it?
Yes.
Freak me out, man. Anyway, no, it is odd. I mean, it's very. I mean, she stuck the hand out, and of course, he kind of shook it off, and then Doug, Kamala's purse. I'm sorry, I said she. He did some sort of weird shake thing right as that was happening, and I only noticed it because I was watching the awkward moment where Tim Walz' wife tried to shake his hand, and then Doug did something that looked like he was having a mini seizure. I'm not making this up. Go look back on it and focus on him. And he does this little shake like he got a chill, or when you kind of get one of those willies. I call them the willies. Yeah. It looked like he was having that kind of a moment. Maybe it was his body's realization of all of the lies that they had just told on the stage. One way or the other. Look, everybody's making hay while the sun shines on the record of this guy. I understand that it's important that we make sure as many people as humanly possible understand the record of Tim Walz and the record of Kamala Harris, because the mainstream media will spend the next 3 months attempting to whitewash said record. They are going to try to normalize Tim Walz. They're rolling with this stolen valor narrative because I think they think it's the best thing they have going. I don't know that it's that big of a deal, although the people that need to know about it, but I feel like the people that need to know about it already do. And what we mean by this, Walz served in the Minnesota National Guard for 20-something years. He left, then got back in after 9/11. And during 2005, it was announced that his unit would be deploying to Iraq. And after that announcement, he made the decision to leave the unit. And many within that unit feel like, as a commanding officer, or a non-commissioned officer, I guess he was, that he was leaving his men behind. He then subsequently referred to himself in some form or fashion. I don't have the details right. I could pull them up in front of me. In some form or fashion, he was referring to himself as retired when he should not have referred to himself as retired. And then there was a moment, and I think this was last night, when he was talking about weapons of war, and he said, this is the type that I carried into combat. He said that. And that is most certainly stolen valor. I don't know that it's a point that needs to be harped on over and over and over again from now until Election Day, but it's a point of note that the guy insinuated by his own statement. Any average listener, if he says, we shouldn't have weapons of war on the streets of the United States of America. It's a weapon of war, the type of which I carried into combat, which is what he said. He said, I, not we. I mean, any reasonable listener listens to that, and you take away from that he was in combat, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And Tim Walz has never been in combat.
I think the biggest value that can carry is doing an A-B against Vance's record. But as far as the presidential election, who's going to be president, I don't think it carries much weight. When it comes to Vance's record, people on CNN are conveniently forgetting that he ever served at all. There was a commentator, and I heard the clip earlier this morning, and I did not have time to pull it. I will pull it before the end of the show, where there was a commentator on CNN that said, they're going after Tim Walz. He honorably served for 20 years in the National Guard. And to my knowledge, J.D. Vance hasn't served. Well, your knowledge is rather limited then. Well, and as didn't he do 2 tours in Iraq? He was a United States Marine, or is a United States Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. And he certainly served overseas. I don't know the number, but it was certainly 1, if not 2. And he served his country honorably in combat, and most certainly was a member of the United States military. Whether this dunderhead just didn't know that, if that's where they're scraping the bottom of the barrel for their political commentary, I think it was Acosta's show. It was such a bad comment that Acosta actually corrected this person. Well, I do believe that he did serve in the United States Marines. That doesn't matter, Jim. You understand my point. No, we actually don't. Thank you.
All of this to say we got 90 days, folks. 90. And believe it or not, we are less than a month. Y'all know that it's not been a month since Donald Trump almost had his head blown off, and the mainstream media won't talk a bit about it. And then there's our good friend Cory Bush. I want to play this because it gives me tremendous joy. You know Cory Bush? You know who Cory Bush is?
Soon-to-be ex-member of the Squad and the House of Representatives from, what state is it? Minnesota? Was she in Minnesota?
Where's Cory Bush from? No, she's a member of Congress, and she is from, it's Michigan or Minnesota.
One of the two. But she ain't going to be after January.
I feel bad. I feel bad that I don't know this.
It's always good to see another socialist lose their job that they think they're owed.
Cory Bush got to a position of political power as a representative of the United States of America from Missouri. It was another M state. Living in the St. Louis area. By going as woke as possible in winning her election cycle for the first district of the state of Missouri in 2020. She won on the heels of the Summer of Love. She won by declaring that she wanted to defund the police. I mean, we remember these things. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Black Lives Matter, $15 minimum wage, et cetera, et cetera. She did not win election based on her knowledge of taxes. I'll tell you what, we'll take a short time out, and I'll play you my favorite Cory Bush moment before we have to say goodbye to her forever because the people of St. Louis wised up. She became so anti-Semitic in her district that even the most politically left district in the state of Missouri could not handle it anymore, and she was defeated in the primary. I'll give you her greatest hit. It's just one coming up in a moment. It's 12:22, just getting underway. Matt Murphy and the Matt Murphy Show. 615-737-9986 if you'd like to get on board. Phone lines always open and available for you on the Matt Murphy Show. 615-737-9986 as we continue on a Wednesday edition on Super Talk. You know, I was talking back and forth with Dan Jones out at the Glock Store recently, and he said, man, you got to get back out. You got to get back into our training room. And I said, I know, I do. You're right, because, you know, summer happens and you let it get away from you, but you don't want the training to get away from you when it comes to Second Amendment beliefs and gun ownership more specifically. And I'm here to tell you the Glock Store is the place to go. The Glock Store obviously has the best selection of handguns and long guns around. They've got great accessories. They've got performance parts that they will change out on your gun while you wait. They have them in stock. They've got anything and everything you can possibly put on a Glock. Plus, they custom make things for you right in shop. It's what they do. Then there's the Shoot 270 training rooms. They have many trainers available for you, for men and women. They have women-only classes available at the Glock Store. And secondarily, it is so important. It is one thing to buy a gun for personal defense. It's another thing entirely, and a secondary reason. Well, let me put it a different way. It is as or more important that you understand how and when to use as it is the fact that you've decided to buy a gun. And I say more important, more important, because you need to know when, you need to know how, you need to know where. I'm getting back into the shooting rooms of the Glock Store, and I encourage you to do that as well. Check that out at shoot270.com. That's shoot270.com or glockstore.com and tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Glock Store. you have dental insurance right now? Are you tired of paying for years on your dental insurance only to have a small percentage of coverage a year? Are you tired of not getting 100% coverage? There's a better alternative. Did you know this? That will pay 100% with no gimmicks. Find out more from Pat Davis and Your Health Plan Man. Pat Davis and Your Health Plan Man and their team of experts can offer you great alternative health plans and, yes, great alternative dental plans as well. Did you provide or do you provide a health plan for your employees? Are you a small business owner? Would you like to offer a more conservative health plan with better benefits, 40 to 70% off less monthly, and less money out of pocket for you and your employees when you use your plan? These conservative plans are not known very well because of Obamacare, because of regulations that don't apply to most businesses and private plans. Now, Pat Davis and his team, they're well aware of these plans. They're aware of every insurance company and every insurance plan out there, which is why you need them on your team. They are truly your concierge when it comes to health care. If you don't know that you're getting the most for what you pay for, if you feel like you're paying too much, if you feel like you're paying for coverage you don't or don't want, don't need, call Pat Davis and Your Health Plan Man. YourHealthPlanMan.com, YourHealthPlanMan.com, or 4PlanMan. That's 855, I should say, 4PlanMan. 855-475-2662 for Your Health Plan Man and their team.
Police in the UK, they're bracing for more immigrant and anti-immigrant violence. And Metro Council here in Nashville passing an anti-hate speech resolution. We'll have those stories at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm going to listen to Jay Harper's story before I get too worked up about this, but when people talk about resolutions against hate speech, that is garbage, that is nonsense. One, a resolution doesn't mean that much, but we're going to listen to the story together coming up in the next couple of minutes. I'll offer some commentary afterwards on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We truly have the smartest listening audience on planet Earth. I did not have the super text line up and running until the break there, and I just got it up and running, and the number of Missouris on my screen, I mean, you can't shake a cat at all of them. 615-737-9986 to call the show. That's also the number to super text of the show. Many of you utilizing that technology to make your opinions known, and many of you alerting me to the fact it was a state that I could not pull. I felt like it was an M state, but I felt like Michigan was wrong, and I was wrong. It was Missouri. But never you fear, Cory Bush won't be there anymore. The greatest hits of Cory Bush. Representative Cory Bush has only served I guess it's 2 terms. It'll be 2 terms. 21 to 25 it will be. And she has now been primaried mainly because she is an anti-Semite. She is pro-terrorism and pro-Hamas and made it clear to her district in St. Louis that she was said same. And so she had some Democrat opposition dispatch of her during the primary. If you want to know what type of person we're dealing with when we're dealing with Cory Bush, listen to this delicious exchange where Cory Bush is asked what she means by fair share. It has always been one of my favorite top 10 phrases that liberal Democrats like to use. I need to write this book, the top 10 things that Democrats say that are stupid. And one of them is fair share. Here's 45 good seconds. We'll go to this.
So you're saying that you're saying that they're paying their fair share is what you're saying?
No, I'm asking what percentage is a fair share?
Their fair share, the same, if a third of my money is going to taxes, then I think a third of their money should be going to taxes.
It does.
Well, it does.
I'm trying to understand because you realize the effective tax rate on the poor is less than it is on the rich, right?
Okay, so first of all, I'm not the poor. I'm very close to that line, but I'm not the poor.
Okay, so the effective tax rate on the middle class is less than it is on the rich, correct? What fair share would you like to choose percentage?
And I'll get you the longer clip here in a moment. She doesn't understand anything. She's just regurgitating talking points, and for good reason. She has been dispatched of Congress. But we're gonna honor her memory by playing that full clip. It's 31 after the hour on Super Talk. Let's get to Jay Harper real quick, and we'll be back in a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. Yes, it is 31 minutes past 12 noon. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Cloud, haze, 82 degrees, a complete forecast coming up. Law enforcement in the UK, they're bracing for more riots and violence stemming from the stabbing that happened at a children's dance class in the south of England. And even though the suspect was born in the UK, information circulating online, all of which is not necessarily true, claiming that the perpetrator was an undocumented Muslim immigrant. Anti-immigrant protesters, they're just not letting this go. And ABC's Patrick Revell says the police are on high alert.
We see people arriving in masks, people from far-right groups, but also local people who decide then to attack the police. In some places, we've seen them target specifically places related to immigration and to refugees. And the fear is that tonight we could see potentially even refugee centers attacked, that we could see immigration lawyers and their offices attacked.
Back here in Nashville, Metro Council members passing a resolution last evening condemning a verbal attack last month on black children in downtown Nashville by a Nazi hate group. Resolution 638 was not only supported by council members, but also by residents who feel they've been targeted by the recent wave of neo-Nazi demonstrations in Nashville. The resolution stating that Nashville does not welcome or encourage hateful behavior, and any hate groups or individuals looking to spread hate are not welcome in town. Additionally, it says that the right to free speech, though fundamental, should not be used to justify adult men weaponizing vile racist language against kids. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for U.S. Pest. It is August. Do you know how long pest season runs in the state of Tennessee? You know, bug season, mice season, termite season, spider season, you know, flea and tick season. Let me give you a hot tip all year. That's right. We don't get an off season in the state of Tennessee because it doesn't get too cold. And, you know, while we might see a decrease in some of the bugs that we talk about in the summertime season, you still need full service pest control during the fall and during the winter months. So because there is no let up with spiders and ticks and fire ants and roaches and stink bugs and ladybugs. And you know what happens when the fall becomes winter? They try to come into your house to get warm. Little communist. Get full service pest control and termite protection with U.S. Pest. Our friends J.K. Erica, great Americans, and they run a fine company, locally owned, and that's important to me. USPest.com for more information, USPest.com, or give a call. This number will get you to any of their locations, whether it be Nashville, Hendersonville, Gallatin. They do it all at U.S. Pest, residential and commercial. 590-1260. That's 590-1260. Tell them Matt Murphy told you to call U.S. Pest. Super Talk 99.7 WTN 1238. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome in, whether you're listening on radio 99.7 FM, on a streaming platform of your choosing, our own app. Maybe you're checking us out on the Twitter sphere. Perhaps you're watching on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Wherever you might be, we thank you. Like us, subscribe to us if those options are available to you on the platform that you're watching or that you're listening on. And we thank you so much. And if you happen over to @MattMurphy Show on the X machine, that's where I'm at mostly. I have a Facebook account. I've got an Instagram account. I go over there from time to time, but I am mostly on the X machine. It is an absolute cesspool on social media. There are trolls and ugly things going on. It is an awful place full of awful non-humans, and I absolutely love it.
Don't bring me into this.
I absolutely love it. They let Bel K function on there now.
Sometimes.
Your amount of getting booted off of X has decreased. Is it fair to say that it's decreased significantly since Elon Musk took over?
Yeah. Actually, I think that is fair to say.
Okay. You still have been suspended.
Yeah, but like the last time I got suspended was maybe towards the end of last year. And I think before he took it over, I was probably getting suspended 5 times a year. And it's only been once in the last 10 months.
You almost make me ashamed that I've never really served any
Well,
sort of
I'm not doing my job correctly then, because you should be ashamed.
I mean, I'm close, but I've also seen evidence that buzzed to tweeting is drunk tweeting on your part. And my part. Well, I've done it too.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
That's undeniable. I'd be a liar if I said
I mean, you just give me a little bit of the
brown water,
the brown liquor, and off I go. Everything seems like a good idea to say. Everything seems like a good idea. Go ahead and call him that. What are they going to do?
That's why drinking and logic don't go together.
That's true. That's true. I've only been chided twice by our overlords, though. Not the Twitter overlords, our overlords. And I've never been told what to do, but I've had a finger wagged at me a time or two. One was deserved. The last one was deserved.
Okay.
You disagree? I mean, you're entitled to your own opinion.
Yeah, I do disagree.
We're talking about the same thing, the R word?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know that it was deserved. I took it like a man, though, and said, that's fine. If that's where we're going with this,
I fully expected you to do that, but anyway. Let's get back to content.
Let's just move on with everything now. 615-737-9986. Jackie is next up in Nolensville with a thought on the brand new VP candidate for the Democrat, Tim Walz. Hello, Jackie.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing well. I hope you are.
Good. Oh, I'm doing well. And I have to say, first of all, I love your show. It makes me laugh, and it's super informative. And I go home, and I always say to my husband, you need to listen to this show. It's so awesome. So I wanted to say that first.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then secondly, at the top of your show, you said stupid people vote. Well, not only stupid, as you know, Tim Walz just signed the big law yesterday saying all illegals can have their driver license, and now they can vote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of a part of the plan nowadays, huh?
So, yeah, and really the last thing I wanted to say is I don't know if you've seen the documentary, The Fall of Minneapolis. Have you seen that, Matt?
I don't think I have.
Are you kidding me?
What's it called?
The Fall of Minneapolis. And, it was on a streaming back, months ago, and then they yanked it after like 4 days because they had millions of hits. You can go on YouTube and see The Fall of Minneapolis, and that will give you a good story of Tim Walz, the big loser who likes to have, I'm going to say, had Minneapolis burned down and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, I still have family back there. And I'm like, oh, my God, thank God I'm no longer there. So I've obviously not for him. And then on a final note, I just thought it was kind of funny. My daughter still lives back there. She's of voting age, and she called me yesterday, and she said The ticket is camel toe Kamala and tampon Tim. And I thought it was funny. I was like, that's a funny one. And I thought I just would share that with you.
Thank you very much.
And they kind of go together, right?
Well, that's where you go with that one. Yes, absolutely they do. Jackie, thank you so much for the call. I'll have to check out this. Obviously I'm well familiar with what happened to Minneapolis, Minnesota in the aftermath of the George Floyd controversy. It burned to the ground, and Governor Tim Walz allowed it to happen. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris's newly selected running mate was obviously chosen as a nod to the far left wing of the party. The mainstream media is desperate to clean that up, but they have no ability to clean up his record. His record is well established. His record on immigration, as you mentioned, is a prime example of how truly socialist he is, how, quote, progressive he has been on the issue of immigration. Now, I'll just run down some of this for you. I have it right here. Since becoming governor in 2019, he has signed off on legislation to give any number of privileges to illegal immigrants, illegal aliens, including access to state-funded health care, free health care, access to college tuition, free college tuition. He also approved legislation in 2023, this was last year as a matter of fact, Jackie, to give driver's licenses to illegal aliens. Walz said at the time, ensuring licenses, drivers that is, in our state are licensed and carry insurance makes the roads safer for all Minnesotans. What can you do with a driver's license, you ask? I think you know. Walz spent a decade serving in the House of Representatives, voted for stricter screening of refugees during his time in Congress. However, the lawmaker's position on the issue of immigration as governor has continuously veered further and further to the left. While running for re-election in 2022, he criticized his opponent, Republican Scott Jensen, for saying that allowing immigrants without sufficient resources into the state would, quote, threaten Minnesota's fabric of life. Walz responded by saying he's 100% wrong morally, he's 100% wrong economically, he's 100% wrong culturally. During his gubernatorial campaign in 2018, Walz called for Minnesota to become not a collection of sanctuary cities, but a sanctuary state. My position on Minnesota becoming a sanctuary state boils down to who has the responsibility for enforcing immigration laws. Here's what I believe, he said. Congress has given federal authorities, or agencies, I should say, the authority to enforce immigration law in Minnesota, and in doing so, I support their doing so. Congress has not given local law enforcement that same authority. In 2021, Walz sent a letter to Congress endorsing a path to citizenship for illegal aliens, including individuals who came into the country as children, essential workers, people whose native countries are in crisis, and families of those immigrants. Walz opposed Donald Trump's border wall, calling it, quote, ridiculous. Let me see how high this is. If it's 25 feet, I'll invest in a 30-foot ladder company, he said. That's how you stop it. We played that clip yesterday. That's one issue. This man is an open border candidate. Now, I don't care what you think about anything else. Is the system that's currently going on right now working? I beg of you, Democrats, to think with the brain that God gave you. I beg of you, liberals, to think with the brain that God gave you. Do you believe the current system is working? Is it sustainable? You have a flood of millions of individuals coming in from other parts of the world. Are you watching what's going on in the United Kingdom? Are you watching what's going on in Germany? Are you watching what's going on in the Scandinavian countries? Are you watching what is going on in Europe? Are you watching? When you allow immigration to come into your country, whatever that country might be, and you do not set expectations among those that are coming in, when you don't set up parameters and rules to live by, when you don't set up hoops for those individuals to jump through, when you make it so damn easy, You know, my grandfather told me this. When I was a boy, we did not come from money. My grandfather was a self-employed mechanic. He left his job at Knox Rivers Construction Company in Thompson, Georgia. When I was just a wee lad, my mother had developed malignant brain tumor, and he recognized that he was about to have to take care of 3 grandchildren as his own. He was going to have to pay for us on his own. My father left. Mother, serious medical condition. Perhaps wouldn't survive the surgery itself. And my grandfather left the company that he had worked for many, many years, Knox Rivers, because he recognized and went in and told Mr. Rivers, his boss. He was head of the mechanical division. He was the head mechanic. And he said, I don't think you can pay me as much as I need to earn to take care of these 3 grandchildren. And they negotiated, and eventually my grandfather left and went out on his own. He was a self-employed mechanic all of his life. When I was 11 years old, I wanted Levi blue jeans. I didn't want to wear Husky blue jeans from Kmart anymore, and so I started going to work, earning $20 a week actually, we started at $10 a week, and then eventually we moved to $20 a week with my grandfather. When I was 14 years of age, my grandfather asked me if I was thinking about a car. I was already driving my mother's car at the time because my mother had such difficulty driving. She wrecked a lot. My grandfather figured it was a best course of action to teach me to drive early so as to save my life. It worked. Long story short, I raised the money to buy a $400 car. It was a 1980 Chevrolet Monza. If you're not familiar with the Chevrolet Monza, it was basically Chevrolet's version of the Pinto. It was a hatchback. It was an absolute piece of crap, and I loved it. My grandfather told me that if I raised the $400 to buy the car, that he would pay for all of the parts and that he would show me how to rebuild the engine and rebuild the transmission, because both of them needed it. And we did. When I expressed frustration, and I did when I was 15, 16 years old, 16, 17 years old, I'm driving my Monza. And don't get me wrong, I appreciated that car. I had great respect for that car. But when you pull into the car parking lot at the high school, Thompson High School, and everyone else is driving a Mustang, or, you know, some of these rich kids are driving mama and daddy's Volvo. And I said something at one point, and my grandfather said, they're not going to appreciate it. And it might frustrate you right now, but down the road, it's going to help you. And it's going to hurt them. He didn't say it in that many ways, or in that clear of a way. But he said they're not going to have any appreciation for what they have, and you are going to have appreciation for what you have. Allowing illegal aliens to come into this country in the way that we do, allowing illegal aliens to flood the zone in Europe in the way that they do, does not teach them appreciation for the countries they are leaving and the countries that they are entering. And it creates a dynamic by which it becomes not a flood of hope, but an invasion. And that's what we're dealing with right now. Does anyone actually believe that we can continue this? On that issue alone, it is a disqualifier. On that issue alone. Tell me how this works. And don't tell me that the Democrats had a solution for it. It is garbage. It is a lie, and you're not going to get it by me. They did not. Kamala Harris was spewing out that nonsense. We tried, Joe. We tried to have a solution, and the Republicans stopped. You're actually going to think that we're stupid enough that you would suggest that you're stronger on immigration than Trump? You know what angers me? I get angry when they treat us like we're so dumb. I'm going to calm down, take a sip of Mountain Dew, be back in a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. We are coming up on 1 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Cloudy, hazy, 82 degrees. Your weather forecast is on the way. Republicans lashing out at the VP running mate for Kamala Harris. That, of course, would be Minnesota Governor Tim Walz by, among other things, questioning the way Walz distributed COVID relief funds, as one group has been charged with major fraud. ABC's Alex Prescia reports.
The criticism is that he appointed the folks that were overseeing the handing out of these funds. And I can say that an audit done of the doling out, the disbursement of these funds, he did say that they could do better and that any responsibility in that falls at his feet. This is something that he has not been wrapped up in. He's not charged or faces any charges stemming from this case.
We now head out west, where California's new earthquake early warning system appeared to work last night when a 5.2 magnitude quake shook outside of Bakersfield but caused shaking down into Los Angeles. AB's Alex Stone, he's in L.A.
In what is seen as a success in a large populated area, many people got alerts on their phones before the shaking started. Some got 10 to 15 seconds of warning to take cover and brace because shaking was about to begin. Melanie Lunsford was at a Denny's when the shaking started.
We were just sitting there and I just felt everything shaking. And I said earthquake, and then it just kept going.
California's new system is meant to give enough time to slow down trains, stop surgeries, and for people to take cover.
Here in Nashville, a bicyclist has died following a crash last evening at an intersection in a West Mead neighborhood. Metro Nashville police said the crash occurred just after 7 p.m. at the intersection of Jocelyn Hollow Road and Robin Hill Road. Authorities reported the bicyclist collided with a vehicle while going through the intersection. Police said they're trying to determine whether the bicyclist may have ran the stop sign. No other information about this deadly crash is currently available. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hello, kids. It's the Matt Murphy radio show underway for another day on Super Talk 99.7 WTN and another hour number 2 in progress. It is 1:06. Libertarian lunchtime hour went off without a hitch. We're here till 3. We'll hand off to Brian Wilson in the drive at that time. Would love to hear from you. Always available, always open. 615-737-9986. You may make your opinion known on the super text line. You're invited to do so at the same number, 615-737-9986, that you also may call if you want your opinion known more directly. We always invite telephone calls. Turn a monologue into a dialogue by dialing that telephone number and letting us know where you are on the issues of the day. Obviously discussing the presidential contest as we've taken a lot of leaps and bounds over the last several weeks. I mean, it was only several weeks ago, that it was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris was running as his running mate. Now it's Kamala Harris, and we have a new running mate in the form of Tim Walz. Tim Walz, who is being dissected by the mainstream media as a moderate choice for Kamala Harris. A moderate choice for Kamala the commie. Kamala blah, blah, blah. I can't get it right. It doesn't roll off the tongue. It's so good, but it just doesn't roll like I want it to roll. Well, the last few days we've been unburdened by our 401k portfolio, thanks to the stock market tanking under the possibility that we might see a Kamala Harris presidency. I will get back to more of that. I have the complete Cory Bush soundbite, which is delicious. We need to re-rack it. I have Tim Walz repeating a myth that was started online. It was started as a joke, as a lie by an online blogger, and the Democrats just think it's the funniest thing they've ever heard in the world about J.D. Vance and a couch. If this is where they want to go, then I think we should go there. Because if the jokes are funny about J.D. Vance and a couch, what type of jokes can we tell about Kamala Harris and Willie Brown? I mean, is that not fair? If you're going to, in front of the largest assembled crowd that Kamala Harris has had probably in her political life, yesterday in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, they assembled a huge crowd of dumb people, ready, willing, and able to applaud and laugh at anything in front of them. And Tim Walz decided that he would go there when regurgitating this nonsense of a lie about J.D. Vance writing something about he and a cat. It's just so stupid it doesn't bear repeating. Someone went online and told a story about J.D. Vance having sex with a couch and claimed that J.D. Vance wrote about this in his book, which J.D. Vance did not do. So now Tim Walz thinks it's funny to make jokes about this. Well, that's fine. Jokes are jokes. Are we allowed to make jokes about the fact that Kamala Harris was well known to have slept with Willie Brown in order to achieve the success that she achieved in San Francisco? I mean, is that okay? Or is that something that I'm not supposed to do? I'm just trying to figure out the ground rules now. Is it okay to talk about Kamala Harris if it's okay to repeat the lie that J.D. Vance slept with a couch? Am I allowed to repeat the truth that Kamala Harris slept her way to the top? Is that somehow off limits? I'm just trying to figure out what the parameters are, because I have no interest necessarily in discussing the fact that Kamala Harris obviously slept her way to the top in San Francisco, California. What I'm asking is, are we doing that or are we not doing that? I mean, the same political party that has regurgitated some truths and some lies about Donald Trump's personal life. I mean, if that's where you want to go, I don't think any of us want to go there, but maybe you do. Maybe you do. We've got more of that coming up in just a couple of minutes on The Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. But several of you have asked me my thoughts, and perhaps you missed portions of the show yesterday regarding Andy Ogles and what is apparently an FBI warrant that was served against Andy Ogles late last week. The news broke during our show yesterday that apparently a search warrant was served against Congressman Andy Ogles. The individual serving the warrant was a man by the name, according to the Tennessee Star, Henry Leventis, Leventis. I'm horrible with names, but I'm going with Leventis or Leventis. Leventis. I'll go with Leventis. Apparently, this individual previously served as an assistant U.S. attorney under Special Prosecutor Jack Smith. He was the individual that oversaw the FBI search warrant served on Representative Andy Ogles. Now, as a way of getting you caught up for those who have not heard the backstory, when I first got to Tennessee, it was December of 2021. Very swiftly, I got up to speed and was up and running by the time the election cycle of 2022 rolled around, where there was a restructuring of the 5th Congressional District, and then Jim Cooper decided not to run for re-election for the 5th Congressional District, and a number of Republicans ran in the primary season for the 5th Congressional District nomination, and it was ultimately won by now sitting Representative Andy Ogles. During the primary, I became aware, a source informed me that Andy Ogles was overinflating his financial disclosure forms for the purpose of trying to keep people out of the race. That's what was told to me. And I challenged Andy publicly and privately on that, and Andy shut me off for the better part of a year as a result of it. It turns out that everything that I was told was so, and the things that I trusted to be true at the time, which is why I said them on the radio, turns out all of that was true. Andy has stated, and we've since repaired our relationship, and I think his voting record speaks for itself in Washington, D.C. Andy has stated that, yes, there was a financial disclosure mistake made on his form. Yes, it was indicated that he loaned his campaign $320,000, that he never loaned his campaign. No, it was not malicious. No, it was not purposeful. And he has been, according to him, forthcoming with regard to how all of this went down and what he needed to do to repair it. However, that will not stop the leftist Democrats in Washington, D.C., utilizing the bureaucracy at their fingertips to go after Andy Ogles, which is perhaps what's happening right now. I don't trust the FBI as far as I can throw them. I'm going to hold politicians accountable regardless of whether they have an R or a D behind their name. I expect more. I believe that my voice is a voice for you, not for Republicans, not for Democrats, not for conservatives, not for libertarians, for you, the people. And when I sometimes fear as if I'm veering off the reservation, I remind myself that my mission statement regards truth and speaking truth to power. That's it. So I'm not afraid of the R's. I'm not afraid of the D's. I don't play on any team. I would not belong to any team that would have me as a member. I would not belong to any club that would have me as a member. Hat tip to Groucho Marx. So I'm not against exposing what needs to be exposed. At the same time, I have to tell you, I don't trust the FBI. The FBI has done way too many partisan things over the last 10 years for me to trust them now. I'm going to need more than just search warrant to condemn Andy Ogles of anything. Leventis supervised the FBI search warrant, according to an article today by the Tennessee Star, executed at Ogles' Murray County home. In a statement, so here's the funny thing, and I know all of us were doing it. I spoke to Brian Wilson about it yesterday, and I heard Nashville's Morning News this morning, and Dan Mandis said the same. I don't know if Chris tried the same as well, but one way or the other, like all of us, like we value the relationships that we have with our representatives because we want those representative voices to be on our airwaves to speak to the people that they represent, whether it's Burchett or Green. I can't get Green back on the show. I think he's still mad at me. Ogles or Desjardins, whoever it might be. And I feel like for the most part, all of us have decent enough relationships with our representation. So I am certain once this news broke yesterday afternoon, just before 2 o'clock, all of us were doing the same thing. We were all texting Andy Ogles. I have Andy's cell number. He gave it to me. I know Brian does. I mean, I think Dan does. I think we all do. And so all of us are texting Andy Ogles. And I just, in my head, imagine, because now we know that the search warrant was apparently regarding electronic media or electronic devices. So can you imagine, Bell, this story breaking, and whatever FBI dude had possession of Andy's phone, the phone starts blowing up.
I didn't even think of that. I did not. That is hilarious to think about, though.
I mean, blowing up. Because if Murphy's doing it and Wilson's doing it and Mandis is doing it, you know, all of his buddies and colleagues and friends and people that he knows in D.C. and other constituents that he has personal relationships with, 187 different messages on his telephone. I'll tell you what mine said. My follow-up message was a little bit different. Here it is. Yesterday at 2:01 in the afternoon. Hello, Andy. Hope you're well. Any chance you want to comment on some of this FBI info that's coming out? I'm here if you would like to speak publicly to the 5th District. And then I followed up last night at 7:54. Hello, Andy. Hope you're doing okay. No idea if you have your phone yet or if the FBI is still holding it hostage. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you.
Then after that, it was, hey, Fed boy, give Andy his phone back.
That's what I'm doing tonight. Fed boy.
Did you see his tweet regarding the...
I did. That's exactly where I'm going. So Andy did manage to get back to social media, and he confirmed what we believed to be true yesterday by saying, last Friday, the FBI took possession of my cell phone. It is my understanding they're investigating the same well-known facts surrounding these filings. I will, of course, fully cooperate with them, just as I have with the Federal Election Commission. I'm confident all involved will conclude that the reporting discrepancies were based on honest mistakes and nothing more. I don't believe for a moment if Andy Ogles were a Democrat, this would be happening to him. Do you? I mean, for Democrats to come under fire for alleged illegality, they literally have to keep gold bars in their house that they were given as bribes. Hello, Bob Menendez. And even when they do that, they still run for re-election. And the mainstream media gives them a complete pass on it, as if it's not happening. Remember Congressman, what was his name? It wasn't Jordan Jefferson. That's different. It was Jefferson down in Louisiana that they found bundles of cash money in his freezer. He literally had cold, hard cash in his freezer. And he played the wasn't me card. Wasn't me. I don't know what you're talking about. Wasn't me.
William J. Jefferson.
William J. Jefferson. Thank you.
He had $90,000
in his freezer. And he's like, I don't know. I mean, I guess when you're caught, when you're that exposed, it reminds me of the old, remember the Eddie Murphy bit where the guy gets caught cheating on his wife or his girlfriend? She catches him coming out of the girlfriend's house, and he said, it wasn't me. What do you mean it wasn't you? It wasn't me. I looked right in your face. Hey, it wasn't me. And you know what she says? Maybe it wasn't you.
That was actually a pretty good Eddie Murphy.
Hey, it wasn't me. And Democrats get away with it. So I'm not here to condemn Andy. I am certain that he will step out once he gets his phone back and make calls and try to explain to us everything that has happened here. Am I predisposed to believe that this is the FBI doing partisan FBI crap? Yes, I'm predisposed to that, but it remains to be seen. 20 minutes after the hour, your telephone calls, 615-737-9986. Are we going to cast aspersions based on loose internet rumors? That's apparently what Tim Walz was doing yesterday. We'll play the audio, plus CNN on J.D. Vance's military history. That's on the way on Super Talk. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy here. I feel like I know a good bit about a lot of things, but I know absolutely nothing about heating or air conditioning work or repair. But I am comfortable in my lack of knowledge. Why? Because I know Jeff Eddy, and I know efficient heating and cooling. It can be hard to find someone that you trust when it comes to your air conditioner or your heater because, one, there's a lack of knowledge there. I don't know if they're telling me the truth. Number two, sadly, so many of them try to upsell you and sell you things that you simply do not need, like new units. And they will sell you a unit 3, 4, 5 years before you actually need it, and that's going to cost you thousands of dollars in the long run. Jeff Eddy makes a commitment. He's not going to do that to you. He's never going to charge you overtime rates. He keeps the invoices small, and he believes in getting maximum life out of your AC unit. So if it's not running as it should, do yourself a favor and call Jeff Eddy. If the AC is not ready, call Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling. Maintenance calls will never charge you over $125, no matter how many units you have at your residence. Go to efficienthvac.net or call 615-784-4424, 784-4424 for Efficient Heating and Cooling.
Those two astronauts that are stuck on the ISS, well, they may not have their feet back on the ground for quite some time now. We'll have that story. Also, the victim in a fatal Westmead bike accident has now been identified. We'll have those stories at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, Jay, can I beg of you a moment or two of your time?
Go ahead and beg, sir.
So, after promising that I was going to listen with rapt attention to your 1 o'clock newscast regarding this hate speech deal in Nashville.
Yeah, correct.
I had to go make wee-wee.
Yes, I understand.
Mm-hmm. I had to go
it happens.
to the bathroom.
Yes.
And so I missed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I apologize. I understand that this is not a drive-through and I can't order on request, but can you give me the 25-cent synopsis of what they're doing?
Sure. Metro Council last night, they passed a resolution condemning a verbal attack on black kids last month that were allegedly spewed by this Nazi hate group that has been making appearances in the city. So
I got it.
That's basically it. They say that the council says they value free speech. However, It should not be used to justify adult men weaponizing vile racist language against children.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. I mean,
there you have it.
There you go. I mean, it's performative in its nature. I mean, Matt Murphy's opinion on that, as Jay Harper relates the story to me, yes. Is that performative in nature on the part of the Metro Council? Of course it is. Does it carry any weight? No, not really. Is it, if as city officials they want to condemn some of the language accused to have been used by these individuals toward these young people, well, of course. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I think we need to be nicer to our fellow man. I think we need to be nicer, generally speaking, when the opportunity arises to be kind to other people. Let's seize on that, and let's not put up with the jerks being jerks. We can respond in a way that values the freedom of speech and the freedom of expression, but at the same time, respond in kind. So, it's all well and good. I don't think it has, sadly, you see some of these individuals from outside of our community knowing that they're going to get attention if they descend upon our community in these nondescript, and I don't know if they're false flag operations. I don't know who they are. I know this one fellow that got arrested was from Canada somewhere. Not from around here, friends. Sadly, there are some, like this jerk Phil Williams over at News Channel 5, that choose to use this to accuse Tennessee of somehow becoming more racist. Tennessee's not becoming more racist. I believe regardless of your political affiliation or ideology, Tennessee is a welcoming and wonderful place. At least that has been my experience. I love the people that live in this community. And I don't ask everyone what their political affiliation is. I don't ask everyone if they're a liberal or a conservative, a Democrat or a Republican. Largely in most settings, as we are out and about, these things don't come up. Now, we know that we live in a red state. We know that Nashville is a small blue dot inside of a red state. But I do not believe that we are a racist place. Liberals who have lived and made a tremendous amount of money, a tidy living on the issue of racism, don't seem to want to let it go. And it's sad in 2024 that you have so many individuals who race bait. But it is true. In the meantime, you got this. Have y'all seen J.D. Vance walking up to Kamala Harris's plane and demanding that she answer questions on the part of reporters? I think this happened today. This was J.D. Vance today.
I know you're covering the vice president here. I figured I'd come by and one, just get a good look at the plane. Hopefully it's going to be my plane in a few months. But I also thought you guys might get lonely because the vice president doesn't answer questions from reporters and hasn't for 17 days. Have they given you guys an explanation for why she won't take questions from reporters? No? Nobody? Okay, great. Well, I hope that she changes her mind because it'd be good for the American people, and I think it'd be good for you all if she actually ran a real campaign instead of one from a basement with a teleprompter. So have a good one, guys. See ya.
It's difficult to hear what J.D. Vance just did there, but it is epic. It
was really smart.
So her plane's out there, and all of this gaggle of reporter, blah, 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 they're all standing in a line, and Vance lands elsewhere. I guess they're in the same city. And he walks up to them and says, hey, has she given y'all a reason why she refuses to answer any of your questions? Don't you have questions for her? Has she given you a reason why she won't answer? Well, hopefully this will be my plane in the next couple of months, and I'll happily answer your questions. But in the meantime, no. And he's like, has she? Has she given you an excuse why she won't answer your question? He just kind of stands there, and you don't really hear anybody responding. No? Okay, well, just let me know.
As a Secret Service protectee, can he just access another protectee's security zone with no problem?
I don't know.
I mean, not that we have a high level of confidence in this organization to begin with, but it just makes me, it's a curious situation.
I just, I wonder what they would do if he tried to jump on the aircraft, right? Hey, I'm going to go say hey to Kamala. Is that okay with everybody?
You'd have two groups of Secret Service
Fighting
beating
one
each
another?
other up.
Hey, I'm just trying to go say hey to Kamala blah, blah, blah. No? Is that bad? Is that wrong? And then this is a clip that I shared. Well, actually, I tell you what, I'll let Jay deliver the news here, and we'll deliver this clip for you after the news. It's 1:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WT. When we come back, so CNN apparently has forgotten conveniently that J.D. Vance served in the United States Marines. I'll play that clip for you next on Super Talk.
Good afternoon. It's 1:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds, haze, 84 degrees, a forecast coming up. Those two astronauts had been stuck in space much longer than they planned after the Boeing-built Starliner capsule has had some issues. Well, they might return to Earth eventually, but it may not be on a Boeing product.
NASA has been trying to figure out now for weeks how Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams will get home. They were supposed to be in space for only a couple of days as part of the first human test launch of Boeing's Starliner, but they've been up there for over 60 days because of problems with the capsule, the latest issues for Boeing. Now, NASA says it is seriously considering bringing them home on a SpaceX capsule in September. It would mean SpaceX astronauts would launch with extra spacesuits and return with Wilmore and Williams.
That's Alex Stone reporting. NASA also says it may, in fact, be 2025 before they can get these astronauts home. Fox 17 News here in Nashville reporting that police have now identified the bicyclist killed in a collision last night. Authorities say 54-year-old Ronald Laird, of Nashville, ran a stop sign on Robin Hill Road before crashing into the passenger door of a Kia that was heading eastbound on Jocelyn Hollow Road. Following the accident, Laird, who was wearing a helmet, he was taken to Vanderbilt Medical Center where he passed away. Police say Laird was the last of four bicyclists who ran the stop sign. The investigation showed that there is no stop sign on the other road, Jocelyn Hollow Road, and witnesses say the driver appeared to be traveling at a speed limit of about 25 miles per hour. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Craft Body Scan. Let's talk about your insides, shall we? Because you don't understand what's going on under the hood, do you? Well, if you don't feel symptoms, that doesn't mean that something's not going on. And if something's going on, you need to know about it as quickly as possible. And the Craft Body Scan folks want you to get that done right now, ASAP. Toward that end, they are offering an incredible deal for $149. All month long, our friends at Craft Body Scan are offering a couples heart and lung scan. These couples heart and lung scans are valued at over $2,500. It's a huge savings for anyone looking for a simple and non-invasive way to check out their heart and their lung health. We've heard countless stories about how people have had their lives saved because they discovered issues going on within their body before they became symptomatic. Take a proactive step toward better health through early detection today. Go to togetherwescan.com. That's togetherwescan.com and book your couple's heart and lung scan today for only $149. Call 615-436-1000, 615-436-1000 for Craft Body Scan. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and you. Halfway home this edition, our Wednesday edition, August 7. We'll have Cameron Smith in studio with us coming up in the final hour of the broadcast today. And we hand off to The Drive with Brian Wilson at 3 o'clock this afternoon on Super Talk. Your calls and your super text always available, 615-737-9986. We'd love to hear from you. So, Cory Bush, a soon-to-be former representative from Missouri, does not seem to have a command of much outside of her anti-Semitism. So I promised I would re-rack this. We played it right at the beginning of the show. It is an example of how Cory Bush doesn't seem to understand the concept of taxation, and she could not answer a basic question about the term fair share. I've long asked this question on my radio show when talking to more liberal-minded people who discuss businesses, corporations, and, yes, other individuals paying their, quote, fair share in taxes. Well, at the federal level, almost half of individuals in the United States of America don't pay federal income taxes. The upper income levels pay the brunt of the taxation. And the more you make, the more you pay. But the Cory Bushes of the world have convinced themselves that there is an injustice going on. And regardless of whether or not they understand said injustice, they're going to talk about it, like she did recently when discussing fair share.
The wealthy should pay their fair share.
Yes, wealthy should pay their fair share.
What is a fair share? What percentage?
So you're saying that you're saying that they're paying their fair share is what you're saying?
No, I'm asking what percentage is a fair share?
Their fair share, the same, if a third of my money is going to taxes, then I think a third of their money should be going to taxes.
It does.
Well, it does.
I'm trying to understand because you realize the effective tax rate on the poor is less than it is on the rich, right?
Okay, so first of all, I'm not the poor. I'm very close to that line, but I'm not the poor.
Okay, so the effective tax rate on the middle class is less than it is on the rich, correct? What fair share would you like to change the tax rate to on the wealthiest what percentage of Americans so it's a fair share?
So let's say the wealthy 1% could pay, let's say if they paid, let's just give them 45%.
Let's just make things up, shall we? Let's say that the wealthiest 1% should pay 45. Why not 55? Why not 100? Let's say that the wealthiest 1% of the United States of American population should pay 100% of their income in taxes. That would make everything okay, right? According to Cory Bush, who obviously doesn't understand anything about tax rates, who is just regurgitating talking points, and got caught with her proverbial pants down when asked questions regarding this nonsense. Speaking of nonsense, if there's one thing more insane than a sitting leftist representative like Cory Bush, it's one that has just lost her primary election. Let's listen to unhinged Democrat Congresswoman of Missouri, Cory Bush, on a rant after losing her primary.
Pulling me away from my position as Congresswoman. All you did was take some of the strings off.
Yeah, yay. Why are we...
Let's be clear.
Let's be clear.
Let's be clear.
Okay.
Let's be clear.
Right.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Let's be clear.
By the way, liberals love to... Bell, wake up. Liberals love to chant things that don't make any sense. Let's be clear. Let's be clear that you just got your butt whipped in the primary? This wasn't a Republican beating you. This was another Democrat. Let's be clear.
Let's be clear.
She's unhinged.
Let's talk about what it really is.
Okay. Let's talk
because
about
see, now I don't have to some strings that I have attached, and as much as I love my job, but all they did was radicalize me, and so now they need to be afraid.
She's by the way, that's not me overmodulating her. She's overmodulated. She's eating the mic a little bit too much. Need to pull back on that. I know as someone who does it from time to time in my own line of work.
She was removed by her own constituents.
Yes, in the Democrat primary.
And that is radicalizing her because her constituents decided to make a change.
Because they felt like she was too radical, maybe? Let's be clear. By the way, I love how she's standing there defiantly after getting her butt whipped in the primary. Hold on, it gets better.
See, now they about to see this other Cory, this other side, because let me say this.
Wait, so we're about to see the radical side of Cory Bush? We haven't seen the radical side of Cory Bush yet?
Yes.
Oh, wait, I just figured something out, Belle. Maybe she's talking about she's been radical. Now you're going to see sensible Cory Bush. Let's be clear.
Does that person exist?
Now I'm going to tell you what I really believe about the tax code, and I'm going to explain to you that I really understand it.
Somehow I doubt you on that one.
Now I'm going to reach across the aisle, and I'm going to work with my fellow lawmakers. Now I'm going to take a sip of something sweet and alcoholic before I get out on this stage and start screaming.
What you're going to do is go get a real job.
I just grew up a whole lot more over the last few weeks. Just grew up a whole different way. And so what they are about to get, they think...
She has no idea what's about to come out of her mouth. She just knows she needs to say something that's inspirational. Or something.
So the thing is this. The thing is this. I don't think that anything... There is nothing that happens in my life that happens in vain.
That's such an inspirational quote. I want to redo this. Belle, can we please write this down and get it printed on a T-shirt?
So the thing is this.
Okay, so I want you to write this down. So the thing is this.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is this.
The thing is this.
I don't think that anything.
I don't think that anything.
There is nothing.
There is nothing.
That happens
in my life.
My life that happens in vain.
That happens in vain.
So if this happened, it's because it was meant to happen. And let me say, it's because of the work that I need to do. And let me say this.
Uh-oh.
AIPAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down.
Oh, she's talking to the Jews now. AIPAC. So she's coming to tear your kingdom down. She also said that they needed to be afraid, threatening AIPAC, shrieking that she's coming to tear their kingdom down.
I've always loved that comment of, things happen for a reason. And I believe that. They do happen for a reason.
Yeah.
And the reasons are usually because you made a bad decision and the consequences came back at you.
Cory Bush was more radical than one of the more radical districts in the state of Missouri. And she's very angry now because she has lost, based on her radicalization, the gravy train that she enjoyed over the last 4 years. We wish her the best in all of her future endeavors. If I might be so bold as to offer you a piece of advice, practice this as best you can. You got to get up. She's already mastered the art of getting right on the microphone. She was right on top of that microphone. So she's already a step ahead of most of the individuals that will be applying for this line of work. But I want her to practice this. You ready?
May I take your order, please? Welcome to Wendy's. May I take your order, please?
Yeah, I want to get a number 2.
That sounds wrong with sir.
With chocolate frosty. And
be afraid, sir.
And
be very afraid, sir.
And an extra large fry.
I'm coming to knock your kingdom down, sir.
I don't have a kingdom. I just want some lunch.
Okay, come. Are you Jewish?
No, I can be if you need me to be, though. Will that get me fed faster?
You're going to have to come around and pay your fair share, sir.
She didn't tell you.
I pay for the meal. That's my fair share.
How much she's gonna charge you based on what kind of car you're driving in? Oh man. It's 149 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Let me clear this one out real quick. So when you lose Jim Acosta, you're losing the battle and the war. Here is top Harris surrogate from Minnesota, Tina Smith, offering her robust defense of Tim Walz.
Tim Walz, who enlisted when he was 17 years old. He served in the National Guard for 24 years. And I'm not aware of any military service that J.D. Vance has ever served. So let's just make the comparison there. And
This is Senator Tina Smith from the state of Minnesota saying that she's not aware of any service that J.D. Vance has engaged in.
Well, here
Listen
is
to Acosta
Tim Walz,
have to correct
who
her.
enlisted when he was 17 years old. He served in the National Guard for 24 years. And I'm not aware of any military service that J.D. Vance has ever served. So let's just make the comparison there. And what happened in the tragedy of the killing of George Floyd and then the unrest. Yeah, okay. Pardon me for that.
So I'm not here to tell CNN how to do their business because obviously they're engaged in the business of destroying conservatives around the United States of America and elevating socialists who want to fundamentally transform the United States. I regularly refer to CNN as #NeverCNN because I don't want you to watch this network. They are garbage people spewing garbage. Jim Acosta is a garbage human spewing garbage. I don't begrudge him his political beliefs. I begrudge him lying to the American people about his political beliefs. If Jim Acosta wanted to present himself as a leftist, espousing leftist viewpoints from a leftist perspective, that's fine. They do it all the time on MSNBC, and you don't hear me criticizing those leftists because they are clear about what they are and what their worldview truly is. But Acosta, maybe you ought to think about the type of individual you have coming on your television program when this person, Senator Tina Smith, who seems to be an expert on all things Tim Walz, has no clue who J.D. Vance is. Because if she did, she would be aware of his military service. It is a basic, fundamental building block of who he became as a man, the fact that he served in the United States Marines. It's 1:52 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy, and you saw me talking with Cameron Smith there for a moment. If you were watching on Super Talk TV, you did not hear what I had to say, but I was inviting him into the studio. And I invite Cameron and you and anybody else within the sound of my voice to head on to Savory Spice with me because Savory Spice can up your food game. That's what it's all about, right? Because we get to an age in life where you don't want, I don't want to besmirch fast food joints, but you know what I'm talking about. You go to the cheapest fast food joint possible, you get the cheapest food possible, and you get what you pay for. There was a time in my life that I was doing that in the kitchen as well, and we do that with our spices. Well, when you buy those cheaper spices, you get cheaper product. And I don't know where they're coming from. I know where the spices from Savory Spice come from. Holly and David, they source their spices. They're the freshest of the fresh. They get them in on a regular basis, and they sell them to you. The chefs in this community know where to go. The cooks, the greatest cooks in this community know where to go, and I want you to know as well. Savory Spice. 2 locations, L&L Market, just off of Charlotte Pike in Nashville, and right off the square in Franklin. Go see Savory Spice, locally owned, locally operated, which is important to me. And more importantly than that, they up your food game by upping your spice game. Up your spice game at Savory Spice.
Both the Trump and Harris campaigns hitting the same states today. And two astronauts stuck on the ISS. They may not have their feet back on the ground anytime soon. And the victim in a fatal Westmead bike accident has been identified. We'll have those stories at 2 p.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Jay Harper. So we're going to dissect some of this information with the one and only Cameron Smith coming up in mere moments on the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Plus your telephone calls, your concerns, your questions, your thoughts. We have 90 days to go before all of us get to the polls and vote for President of the United States of America. How about that? We've got mere seconds before Jay Harper begins the news, and one more hour to go after that at Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It is 2 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy, 84 degrees. A full forecast is on the way. Now that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is Vice President Harris's running mate, he will be crisscrossing the U.S., making the case to voters. Walz's rival, GOP Vice Presidential candidate J.D. Vance, he's also hitting the same states as they are, sometimes at the same time. Today, while in Wisconsin, Vance answered a question from a reporter on why he's trailing the Harris camp.
We think it's important to get out there, to talk to people, to make the best case that we can. And obviously there's an element of, especially local media is going to cover her because she's the vice president and a presumptive nominee. So we think it's important to have a counter narrative here, and importantly to drive home this point that she has been a dangerous radical.
Well, those two astronauts that have been stuck in space much longer than they planned after the Boeing-built Starliner capsule has had some issues, they might return to Earth next year on a non-Boeing product. Here's ABC's Alex Stone.
NASA has been trying to figure out now for weeks how Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams will get home. They were supposed to be in space for only a couple of days as part of the first human test launch of Boeing's Starliner, but they've been up there for over 60 days because of problems with the capsule, the latest issues for Boeing. Now NASA says it's considering bringing them home on a SpaceX capsule, but that would mean they have to stay until February of 2025. SpaceX astronauts would launch with extra spacesuits and return with Wilmore and Williams.
Back here in Nashville, Fox 17 News reporting that police have identified the bicyclist killed in a collision last night. Authorities say 54-year-old Ronald Laird of Nashville ran a stop sign on Robin Hill Road before crashing into the passenger door of a Kia Optima that was heading east on Jocelyn Hollow Road. Following the accident, Laird, who was wearing a helmet, was transported to Vanderbilt's Medical Center where he died. Police say that Laird, he was the last of a group of 4 cyclists who also ran that stop sign. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Where do you hurt? I'm not trying to be personal with you. I'm just asking the question to kind of bring it top of mind. Are your knees hurting? Are your ankles or your hips hurting? Are your elbows hurting? And then, of course, there's the back, right? All that line down, up and down your spine, from your neck to your middle back to your lower back to your buttocks. If you're hurting anywhere on your body and you're popping pills in order to alleviate that pain, and I don't blame you for that, I understand, or perhaps you're getting needles, injections to block the pain, might I introduce you to the Dr. Gil Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. For less than $50, you will receive an appointment. You will step in, you'll talk to Dr. Wendy, Dr. Dominic, Dr. V, or one of the fine chiropractic physicians at the Dr. Gil Center. They will speak with you about your pain. They'll get some x-rays where it hurts, and then they'll go over the findings of those x-rays, and you'll have your initial appointment right there to begin the process of getting you pain-free without the need for needles, without the need for pills, and without the need for surgery. Don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gil. Let's do this the natural way. The Dr. Gil Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief is in Franklin, 615-882-4838, 882-4838. The Dr. Gil Center. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Dr. Gil in Franklin. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I didn't really know. By the way, this is Matt Murphy. My name is Matt Murphy. This is called the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Happy August to you. Happy August 7th. Hope you're doing well this afternoon. We've got plenty of opportunity for you to get in here before we hand off to Brian Wilson. You do so by dialing up 615-737-9986. You can do it on the phone lines or you can do it on the super text line. Either way, we appreciate you. So I did not have a deep understanding yesterday when the announcement was made of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. I have done a deep dive, and it is as crazy as you think it is with regard to where he is on the political spectrum and what the expectation is on the part of the Democrats as to how he is going to be sanitized for the broader audience of the United States of America. To speak on this matter, to speak on the news regarding Congressman Andy Ogles and anything else he brings to the table, we welcome in the 2 o'clock hour our good friend, Cameron Smith of the Tennessean. Hello, Cameron.
Hello, Matt.
Hey, I'm speaking.
Hey, you let the audience express their emotions, sir.
That's, amongst the fake applause, there was me.
You need to find your truth.
I was doing my best.
Nothing fake about it.
Well,
how's it going?
You got me paying attention to all the different camera things, and I'm realizing if I'm looking here and talking to the folks online,
it's weird.
I need to just move that arm here, and I can just look at you and the camera simultaneously.
Or we can do it this way.
It's very bizarre because I'm talking at you with my ear.
I don't know.
It's fine.
I don't know. I feel compelled. I feel like we need to better address the viewing audience.
Cameron, that's fine because Matt listens to you with his mouth.
Who?
You listen to me with your
Cameron,
mouth.
when did you get here?
Right.
So, yes. So, you now get to see yourself. I don't have to look if I don't want to, but you're kind of
looking straight at me.
So, for those, I've decided, because I'm never going to get my monitor that I've been begging for months, I've decided to utilize one of the two monitors that we do have, and instead of using it for something else, I'm using it to monitor the television feed.
Right.
On Super Talk TV. It's most important that I make sure that Bel K does not catch me on camera picking my nose. Yeah. That's basically the idea, right? So, we're monitoring that feed. Well, it's in the corner of my eye, and I can see it if I want to see it. I don't have to see it. Where Cameron's sitting, and if you're watching on Super Talk TV, like us, subscribe to us, and then continue watching, please. Thank you. Where Cameron's sitting, he has to see it.
Yes.
And I would be as uncomfortable as you are.
It's very strange because it's a delayed visual of me. It's very...
And so you want to look good, and you're like, well, wait a minute, I'm looking good. Why don't I look good yet? And you have to wait for it.
No.
There you go. Oh, scare me. I didn't see that first time.
We're just having fun, folks.
Because it's silly season, right? We got 90 full days to go. We got 3 months before Election Day. Early voting starts in many states, I guess, in the next month or so. I don't know exactly when. I mean, it's on, baby.
It's on like Donkey Kong. And watching, this was really interesting to me, seeing Walz as the pick, because just objectively, I think some folks, when they saw the J.D. Vance pick, were like, okay, I get why Trump likes this guy. He kind of reminds you of like a younger Trump in his approach to stuff, like very direct, off the cuff, that kind of thing. And so it was like, well, you didn't really get much additionally.
But what does he expand?
Right. You pick somebody that just basically affirms you and is because they're like you. Well, Harris did the same thing. Mm-hmm. Harris is a rank and file California liberal who was like, let's think of somewhere exotic. And she picks a borderline socialist from Minnesota. And okay, cool. I mean, your far left folks are going to love it, but you already had them. The rest of the country, I did hear the media refer to him as cuddly. So I don't know what to do about that with Walz. I don't typically look for my presidential and vice presidential candidates and say, how would it be to cuddle with them? But the media is enthralled. Once again, I'm surprised we haven't seen historic. That it's a historic pick.
What would be history making on the part of Walz that he is in fact a socialist? Maybe.
I don't know, but I'm sure they can find it because everything Democrats do, historic.
Did you see the moment right after they finished up and Doug, I forget Doug's last name, Kamala's guy? Doug?
Yeah, her
whatever.
husband, yeah.
And
Imdorf or something like that.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, Imdorf.
Yeah.
Imdorf on golf. Remember Tim Conway? Imhoff?
Imhoff. E-M-H-O-F-F.
Imdorf, I'm pretty sure, is a Star Wars character.
It's a trap! So, it is a trap.
That's a moon, Cameron. Come on.
It's indoor. I know that.
Nerds. So, at the end of the event yesterday, which, look, well attended. Yeah. I mean, good. They got their people to show up and whatever.
Huge.
It was huge. So, at the end of it, old Walz, the wife of Walz comes up. I don't know her name. And Doug comes up. And wife of Walz, of course, they do the whole, we're going to embrace. And she tries to shake his hand.
Gwen
is her name. Gwen tries to shake Tim's hand, which is very confused. When is the last time that your lovely wife, Justine, wanted to make physical contact with you by shaking your hand?
Never. I don't know if we've ever shaken hands, actually.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he kind of got her in there. Get out of here,
yeah,
girl.
Sometimes she puts up her hand and is like, you smell like a goat.
Well, right. I mean, you get that a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's understandable. And then right on the heels of that, and I implore you, go watch this video. It's very odd because she tries to shake the hand and he says, come on in here. And while that's going on, Doug has some sort of body seizure. Where have you ever, I call it getting the willies, where you go, for whatever reason, your body kind of goes, that's what he looked like he was doing. Like,
yeah, well.
Like he had to prepare himself to hug Kamala. Maybe.
But I think here what you're getting is the affirmation cycle that liberals are like, well, this guy, he's everything. We're having fun now because he's like us and we like the thing that's like us. To which I said, you had the governor of Pennsylvania on the table. Mm-hmm. You need that state.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you were particularly worried about Minnesota, but to be like, well, he's a Midwestern socialist. I'm like, I'm pretty sure Minnesota's basically Canada. So
who does he pick up?
Nobody.
I mean, and I understand that we can make the argument that vice presidential selections really don't pick up anybody ever.
I know. The anti-Semites in Michigan. He gets those. Sweet.
All right.
Keep him in the fold, baby.
Got to do what you got to do. He's not a Jew. Wait a minute. Last check, he's not a Jew, right?
Okay, then. The fact that Democrats are having that discussion about is the candidate too Jewish is very concerning for them. And as much as they love to come after Republicans and say, well, actually, you're all racist, you're all bigots, you're all terrible. Hello. look at your party.
But Matt, to your point that you've been talking about all week, isn't not picking Shapiro a response to the issues they would have in Michigan if they had?
So more broadly than that, and it's exactly where I was about to go, Bell, Kamala Harris picks Tim Walz at least in part because she did not want to have the discussion with her own party about Josh Shapiro's Jewishness.
Correct.
She did not want to have to deal with that issue.
Yeah, and that's a different, because the media's tried to confuse everybody on this and be like, well, if Harris was an anti-Semite, she's married to a Jewish guy. And that's not the point. The point is she did not want to deal with folks who are actually anti-Semitic. Who
within
are,
her own political
party. Who are a not immaterial constituency in Michigan.
So, and to the seriousness of the selection and the seriousness of the point. So if you are observing this politically, wherever you are on the spectrum, and you accept the premise of my statement that Kamala Harris did not want to deal with that issue as a campaign issue, to have to talk to her own constituents and explain to them that everything's going to be okay regarding where you are on Palestine and anti-Israel sentiment. How in the hell do you think she's going to govern as president of the United States? If she's not willing to deal with that issue now amongst her own, then if she's president, what's she going to do then? You think she's going to have Israel's back as president of the United States when she won't have Israel's back in a VP selection?
Yeah.
I mean, it is honestly frightening to consider. Forget, and I know it's hard, but forget, southern border and energy policy and homeland and illegal immigration. I mean, forget all of these domestic side issues and the economy, obviously. Just our relations with Israel alone. Yeah. And what will happen when the Middle East is emboldened that America no longer has Israel's back?
You mean like right now?
Like right now.
Like now-ish.
Like now-ish. Times 3 or 4, 8 or 10.
Yeah, but I think, and I've actually written about this because it's easy for the left to dismiss this, like, well, there are anti-Semitic people in both parties. Listen, I've written about the history of anti-Semitism, specifically in Michigan, and how that tracks back to Henry Ford. And like, we've talked about a lot of this, that like, specifically in Michigan, there was a seed of anti-Semitism planted a while back that has grown materially. And no, Democrats don't want to talk about that within their own party because they like being able to say, we're the party that's inclusive. Republicans are bad people. And I get it. I'm not suggesting that everybody over in the Democratic Party is anti-Semitic. I am saying they have a strain in their party they'd rather not deal with. And Harris is trying to do that.
And you know what I've noticed observing worldwide global activity? When you don't deal with anti-Semitism, it grows.
Yeah.
And it spills out into the streets. And it seems to me that if I look to, some examples over the last several days and weeks, like, I don't know, Great Britain, do you see how that manifests itself? And it would be a lie of omission not to notice how many individuals who step out into the streets expressing serious anti-Jewish sentiment that are Muslim. Is that wrong for me to observe that? I'm not saying all Muslims are anti-Semites.
Agreed.
But I'm saying that a lot of the anti-Semites that I see on the streets of Great Britain are Muslim.
Well, and from a national standpoint, look at Iran. It's an Islamic republic. Again, that's not making a blanket statement about every Muslim in the world.
No.
It's simply saying that the guy who's in charge of that country, for example, is clearly wants to wipe the Jewish people from the face of the earth.
He said that.
Right.
Over and over and over.
Repeatedly. And we should believe those folks that that's what they want. And I get it. That here's the cycle we go through of, the anti-Semites say, hey, we should kill the Jews. Then they do something to actually effectuate that. Then in this case, that was what Hamas did And then Israel responds and says, we're going to defend ourselves. And if the only compromise is either we die or you die, well, guess what we feel about that? We're not going to just die. So we're going to fight. And then that's used to say, see, the Jews are bad. We need to kill the Jews again.
And then there we go.
And that's the cycle.
And that's the eternal cycle.
Yep. And it has been for quite some time.
By the way, not to deflate away or take away from the very serious point that you just made, but Bel K, I think 5584 just won the internet for the day for me. 5584 says, I'm going to try to shake my wife's hand when I get home and see what happens.
Oh, yeah. Did you see what I wrote back?
It's like,
yeah, I need to know how that ends up.
So we were talking about shaking our wives. I think we should all do this.
Do it to Erica, too, when you get home and see what happens.
That's a good plan. I'm going to just go say, hey, sweetie, and then hold up my hand.
And hold up the hand and see what happens. They're going to look at you like you, I mean, no, obviously, every wife in their home, if you husbands try to do this, all you husbands should try to do this. Try to shake your wife's hand to see what happens.
Yes, I like that.
And the vast overwhelming majority will look at you like you have two heads.
Or look at your hand like you're trying to pull something. You got a buzzer in your hand or something, or you just put it in your hand. And I don't know. I mean, they are going to be automatically suspicious that you're 13.
And that's the Putin hand is something my boys would do. That is, yeah. But you can't shake hands because you got to hold the poot in the hand so it looks more like you got a bug in your hand.
You got to pop it open right.
You were saying like Vladimir. I'm sorry.
No. Much more juvenile, Bell.
615-737-9986. We'll find out Cameron's early thoughts on what, if anything, this Andy Ogles FBI deal is. That's coming up in moments. Plus, Lindsay is on the phone with a question for Cameron Smith.
All right.
We'll get to Lindsay's call momentarily at 2:21 on Super Talk.
Israeli warplane sending a message over Lebanon, and charges pending in a Murfreesboro motorcycle crash. We'll have those stories at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's the Dentist Newscast coming up in 5 minutes on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I don't care who you are. I think that's funny. 615-737-9986 is our telephone number if you'd like to be a part of this show. My name is Matt Murphy. We have Cameron Smith in once a week at least on these Wednesday visits together, and we'll continue our discussion, although I have to do this. So we have the membersnutrition.com super text line, and we so appreciate it. It gives us kind of a direct line to you. So many people who would never think of calling a radio station are willing to text us up and make your opinion known, or to correct us when we're wrong, to support us when we're right, et cetera, et cetera. So 5584, after we're talking about the weirdness of a woman trying to shake her husband's hand and a husband trying to shake his wife's hand.
Right.
5584 says, I'm going to try to shake my wife's hand when I get home, see what happens. Bell K says, please report back. We want to know what her response is to it. And he said, will do. And I responded, please make this happen. And so we get other responses to the idea of shaking one's wife's hand. And then this comes in from 5668.
This is good.
Hey, Matt, was that 5584 number? And then she gives the whole phone number, which I won't give. And Belle wrote back, you know them. And she said, that's my husband. So the guy said he's going to try to shake his wife's hand. I give the last 4 digits of his phone number. His wife is also listening to the show and wants to know if that's her husband. So
the gig is up.
So what should she do when he tries to shake her hand?
I wrote her back.
What'd you say?
I said, basically lean into it, shake his hand back, and go, pleasant to see you, good sir.
Hello today, good sir. And a fine salutation to you.
Yeah.
It is lovely to see you.
But we've actually ruined it all now by talking about it on the air.
It's over.
Weirder and weirder. 1916 says, when Ogles comes on, don't forget to kiss his ass as you always do.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that entire year when he wouldn't come on the show was just because you kissed his ass so much.
That entire year when I was a year ahead of the rest of the media in exposing the fact that he had misrepresented and misreported his financial disclosure documents. The fact that when he came on the show and I challenged him on that front, he refused to come on for a year. That Andy Ogles, the one you're talking about?
If that's a butt kissing, I don't want to see what happens when you're upset.
Seriously.
The hell? I mean, for some reason, now, did I repair relations with Andy Ogles? Sure. I had no problem. I have no problem with Andy Ogles' voting record.
No, I felt some of it was like a little Marjorie Taylor Greene, like the impeachment of Kamala Harris, like that kind of stuff. But like, he's a conservative, generally speaking. Yeah. I
mean, regardless of why Andy votes the way he does, he votes the right way, in my opinion.
Yeah, nobody in that seat is going to get elected if they're not conservative in their voting record. It just ain't going to happen. Like if you vote, heavily Democratic, or you're voting like a Colorado Republican, no.
Now, here's what I would tell you would cut it off with me. If it is determined that Andy has lied to the voting public about how all of this went down.
Yeah.
Andy says that it was a misreporting. He fell on his sword. He said, it was a mistake. I'm sorry. I've repaired it. It will not happen again. If it turns out that he did something intentional and he knew it was intentional, now, I don't pretend, and I saw your look over there, I don't pretend to know how that's a mistake, but...
Well, the problem that I have is politically, folks on the campaign finance reform report, the reason they need to have those reports accurate is because the money they raise and the things like that matter politically, right? Like you see, oh, well, here's who they've raised money from, here's what they have, and those numbers show something. So, for example, if I show an inflated campaign finance reform, or I keep saying reform, report, what I'm doing is saying, hey, there's a lot more people that support me than may actually do.
Well, and I said at the time, and I was pretty new to the state, so I didn't press this matter that much because I wanted to make sure that I fully understood what the requirements were in Tennessee, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But at the time, you're like, well, why would he claim that he loaned his campaign X amount of dollars and he didn't really? Well, you inflate that total number. Your hope is that Cameron Smith, for example, who might be thinking about getting into the race, sees that dollar figure.
Donating.
Or donating to right. And, others are donating, or he's got money, he's got momentum. I might donate to him. Or, I was thinking about running, but he's already got $500,000 in the bank.
So
I can't compete with that.
I'll use a good example of this. This happened, I guess, a week or two when I was on your show previously, and you had a candidate on. And I immediately went and pulled up the campaign finance reports to see how much money is this guy raised. Is he an actual contender? And it was like $5,000.
Right.
So I know the answer. It's no. And then I see somebody, the ultimate person that won that primary, had a ton more support. And so that's why this stuff matters when you look at those reports.
31 after the hour, Jay Harper has the news, and we'll get back to your calls and your comments momentarily on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yes, it is 31 minutes past 2 o'clock. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Clouds, 83 degrees. A complete forecast is coming up. Israeli warplanes broke the sound barrier 3 times over Beirut today ahead of a speech by Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. ABC's Marcus Moore, he's in Beirut, and he says Israel sending a message.
We've heard these sonic booms happening several times. We saw with our own eyes people running, and at least for a brief moment, panic because they didn't know what was happening. It's a very loud sound that travels really across wide areas.
In Middle Tennessee, Channel 4 reporting that a motorcyclist died in a crash in Rutherford County last night, and now the driver involved may be facing charges, according to the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Just before 6 p.m. last evening, a Toyota RAV4 was traveling on Rock Spring Midland Road when it tried to make a left turn onto Highway 231. At the same time, a Suzuki motorcycle traveling south on US 231, and it collided with the driver's side door of the Toyota. The Highway Patrol reports the 26-year-old motorcyclist, Ahmed Osman, he died at the scene of the crash. Charges are now pending against the driver of the Toyota, who was also injured in that accident. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Defend Systems. Brink Fiddler is owner, and he is the originator of Defend Systems. Brink Fiddler worked in the Metro Nashville Police Department for about 2 decades, almost 2 decades, and he understands the manner in which bad guys do their business. He also understands the dangerous world that we live in and how, as people gather together, sadly, there are people that want to do harm against those individuals. If you have a decision-making ability at a school, at a church, or at a place of business, and you're concerned about your staff, your schoolmates, or the people that come to your church not being aware of what to do in the event of a negative interaction with an individual, it doesn't have to be a workplace shooting. I try to remind you that these workplace shootings are very few and far between, but the chances of you being involved in a workplace shooting is not zero, which is why you need action plan. You need more than just hope. You need that plan. Defense Systems offers that plan. Reach out today at 615-236-6484, 236-6484. Go to defensesystems.com to find out more information about how Brink and his team can assist you. In a place of business, in a school, in a church setting, or any place people gather, you need Defense Systems. Defensesystems.com. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy, and I was supposed to be talking about Tennessee Men's Clinic. Instead, I was playing with a glass. More on that in a moment. Right now, I want to ask you, gentlemen, a question in the listening audience. Are you feeling up to snuff? Are you feeling, a little worse for wear? Maybe you're not feeling as energetic as you once did. And I understand that this is a personal conversation, and I'm not here to get up in your business, but I'm just going to ask it generically, and you don't have to acknowledge the radio when I ask this question, but I'm asking it anyway. Are you getting the response in the bedroom that you once did? If not, there is a solution for you. The thing that most men who go to Tennessee Men's Clinic complain about more than anything, they complain about not going sooner, because there are solutions available for you. And they don't have to come in the form of a pill. There can be other options for you as well. Just ask when you call Tennessee Men's Clinic. 1, make that appointment today. Number 2, get your questions ready, because their qualified urologist will be able to answer every one of them for you at the clinic. 2 locations to serve you. One's in Cool Springs, the other in Midtown. They've been around for a while. TennesseeMen'sClinic.com or 208-9090. That's 208-9090. Almost killed myself there. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Now you got to show them the glass.
I'm very excited. So
No.
oh wait.
If you're going to do it right.
Well, okay, I'd say that for later. So I did not receive one of these.
Okay.
I received a throw. Now, Lindsay, from Lindsay.
Oh.
So Lindsay sent a box of presents for everyone.
Yeah.
A loyal listener, Lindsay, sent a box of presents for everyone at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And I guess
she intentionally left you out.
And she intentionally left me out. And then as a result of me shaming her for leaving me out, she sent me a beautiful crocheted shawl that I now have at my house.
So
she wants to keep the elderly warm.
I've been looking at this, and I don't mean to cast aspersions against my fellow chums, brethren at Super Talk, but I've been looking at this box of presents for a month. And I don't know if...
Lindsay, I didn't know it was there. When he handed me, I opened it immediately. Just saying.
Bottom line is this. I will be taking... I think this is Dan Mandis's glass that he got, and I'll be taking that home with me now that we know what these glasses do, and they're very cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a demonstration. So Lindsay gave a number of different presents to the crew here at Super Talk. Now, if you're watching on Super Talk TV, you'll see this right here. It's a glass. And watch what happens. It is empty. Watch this. How about that?
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
Now, and then you pour the water out and it stops. But here's the cooler thing, Belle. Watch this. You know what's connecting that circuit, Belle?
Your finger?
My body. The electricity is going through my body.
It's electric.
It's unsurprising, too, that Dan wouldn't take those home because he's just not a fan of that personal level of connection.
That's hurtful. So basically what you're hearing right now is the sound of us behaving like pandas at the zoo, playing with stuff. And that's what's happening in studio for those of you that can't see.
Well, here's the deal. If you're listening on the radio, you need to go home and watch on YouTube.
You do.
Or Facebook or wherever you watch us and see some of this wonder that is the magic of these cups that Lindsay found from somewhere or another. Dave, I promise I'm going to get to you in a moment. But Lindsay, speak of the devil, and she shows up. Hello.
Hello, Matt.
I had no idea that these glasses did this cool stuff.
Well, I'm just going to have to send more since you're stealing other people's presents.
I'm not stealing other people's presents. Other people left these presents in the studio for the last month. I'm not saying that they're unappreciative of their presents, but they're unappreciative of their presents. That's right. I mean,
there was one of those glasses for Chris Webber. Paul already stole it.
I stole that one.
Shout out to the F&M guys. We are calling from Decatur, Illinois.
Well, keep yourself safe there.
We are listening from Illinois. My grandma got sick, so here we are listening to Nashville.
We just went through Mount Vernon.
I think we're in Indiana now.
No, we're still in,
We're somewhere.
Illinois, Indiana. Those are Midwest places.
We're on the way back to Tennessee. And by the way, okay, this is what I need from Cameron. Cam, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so Matt accused me of leaving him out of the presents when he was getting the biggest present of them all. And then he accused me of making it up on the fly after the fact. You know how long it takes to make a blanket like that? Like months and months.
Well, given my experience with crocheting, no.
Lindsay, I have no doubt that because of my complaining, poor grandma's not going to be getting a winter shawl.
That wasn't for grandma.
Look, it's important to keep the elderly warm, and so I applaud you for that. Meanwhile, I will have glowing beverages, which is super exciting. My boys love that.
I'll keep you in mind in the next present box.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and the Nashville news is rocking in Illinois, boys.
Thank you, Lindsay, for the call, and thank you for the glass that you did not give me that I'm now going to be taking home because I just... See, that's what happens. That's what happens when you judge a book by its cover.
You know how I know she's lying?
How?
Because if she really actually had not left you out, she would have just waited till the shawl was done and then sent everything all at once.
Or included a note. I mean, because just so everyone knows, by the way, I love Lindsay and I'm just messing with her.
She's great.
We're just having a good time. But when you get a box at the radio station and the box is opened and left in the studio, and I'm not making this up, it had gifts for Johnny B., Ken Weaver, Dan Mandis, Chris Hand, Mason Fleming, Belle Kay, Jay Harper, Cameron Smith, Jennifer Sheets,
Jeff Malinoff, and I want to say Mac Morey had a gift in there. And no Matt Murphy. Brian Wilson, Chris Webber, Cabana Wife had one.
Mm-hmm.
Literally everyone but Matt Murphy.
Right. I mean, and that makes sense. I probably would have done the same thing, but I'm not going to lie
that's
about
all
it
good.
after the fact.
I'm sorry. Are you saying something? I'm transfixed by these LED lights.
I'm having a difficult time paying attention to any of the rest of the show.
It's really great. I mean, I can just imagine just trying to keep a straight face while having a beverage that's glowing with rainbow colors.
I have a good understanding of what being a monkey in the zoo is like. You know what I mean?
Yes, we are reenacting that right now.
Oh, look, poo. Shiny things.
Shiny things. Glitter.
Can't help. I mean, no wonder fish do what they do. You know? Dave wants to talk about Minnesota, and he has a little experience as he is from, we are told, Minnesota. Dave, we're going to suspend the frivolity for a moment and talk about more serious things like the candidacy of Tim Walz. Good afternoon.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Yeah, so I was born in Minnesota, and I went to the University of Minnesota. I lived on Riverside Avenue, which was, 3 blocks from the epicenter of that riot. I moved down here to Franklin, thank God, in March before the Summer of Love. And I had to watch my old neighborhood just burn to the ground on the TV. My brother lived in Brooklyn Park, which is another suburb of Minneapolis. He was visiting me. He watched his neighborhood, like a couple blocks on, burn down. And then, we see Walz on the TV apologizing for being white and praising the protesters. So, I mean, it's all well and good to say Walz is a weird dude and he's a socialist. The man is pure evil as far as I'm concerned. Like, I'll never forget watching the place that I spent, maybe 15 odd years of my life, that neighborhood, burn to the ground, and then those people get praised by the governor of that state. The state, their largest city was burned down, basically. I mean, I still will never shake that memory. And even after that, I wasn't there for it, but for COVID, we think about Whitmer and Newsom as bad governors, but Walz is right up there. I mean, it was your children will wear masks wherever they go. If they go to school, we're going to shut down the schools for most of the year. You're going to be vaccinated if you're a state employee. So he was just as bad as the worst case scenario for the COVID governors as well. So even beyond that, just, regular Minnesota weirdness, hugely taxed state. They had a surplus a couple years ago. The governor held up that surplus money after saying he was going to give a refund to the taxpayers. He's like, oh, no, we're going to hold it over for diversity and inclusion programs, and found any way he could to avoid.
I want to, I want, and I don't want to trigger you here, Dave, but I want to, what you're talking about, I want to play for the entire listening audience. This is Tim Walz. This is how bad it gets. He was asked about the 2020 riots in Minneapolis, Minnesota, riots that he allowed to happen for 2 full days before calling in the National Guard. And his very liberal mayor in Minneapolis was begging him to do so, and he refused to do it. In response to questions about why the riots happened, this is what he had to say.
A society that does not put equity and inclusion at the center of it is certainly going to eventually come to the places where we're at. This is a moment of inflection. It's a moment of real change. It's a moment that those folks who are out there demanding this are not going to take a commission or a report. They're going to want fundamental change.
He, when asked about the riots that burned Minneapolis, Minnesota to the ground, he blamed the people that allowed it to happen by saying that if you don't have equity and inclusion at the center of your society, this is what's going to happen. You lived through that, Dave.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. And, I just down here in Tennessee, I live in Franklin now. Thank God I landed here. I moved for a job, but it was, God looking out for me. I can't believe how lucky I was. But, we have national leaders of that kind of mentality. They're going to bring Minneapolis to Franklin, and I don't want to see that. It'd be the worst-case scenario.
Well, we're going to do everything we can to keep that from happening. Dave, thank you for your call, and thank you for reflecting on your experience in Minnesota under this dude, Tim Walz, who says, look, a society that doesn't put equity and inclusion at the center of it is going to come to this.
It's basically like, it happens. I mean,
well, what did you expect them to do? Right? You did not get... And equity is evil. Equality is something that we should all strive for. Equal opportunity amongst the people in this country. Equity is an evil concept that no matter your input, your outcome will be the same.
Well, but the fallacy here starts even before that. It's the idea of, I don't care whether you like diversity, equity, inclusion, whatever you like. The answer is not burn it down. In the American society, that's never never is the appropriate response. Let's set some things on fire. Like, and I think that's what, for some reason, the left excuses that as sort of, well, it's just necessary.
Well, they always have. I mean,
it's just a thing that happens.
Well, it depends on where the chaos is coming from, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's coming from a place or a narrative that they agree with, then they're going to I mean, it's the famous shot of CNN in front of a burning building in Ferguson, Missouri, and the guy on CNN is talking about the mostly peaceful protests.
Right. That to me is, I will support your ability to protest, to march, to do all manner of legal things that involve peaceably assembling. But the moment you set some small business on fire because you're upset, you've committed a crime, and I won't support that. And there's something where Democrats in particular seem to have trouble understanding peaceful protest versus criminal activity. And I just don't have that dysfunction.
51 minutes after the hour, Cameron with us until 3 o'clock. We'll get Brian Wilson in on this party. By the way, a lot of people on the radio are very mad at me right now, listening on the radio, because I apparently did not fully explain what the glasses do. The glasses have a sensor in the bottom of them, and they have two, what do you call these? Little
contact points.
Two contact points, very good. And when those two contact points do not have any connectivity between them, then obviously they're not connected and they don't light up. There are little LED lights in the base of the glass.
Right.
When you pour liquid into the glass, that liquid acts as a conductor, and that liquid lights up the glass because the contact points are not connected.
It does.
You can also do it with your fingers through your body. So that is what is going on. Very cool, and very kind of Lindsay. Brian Wilson on the way next to find out. We'll find out together what's happening on the drive right after this. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 2:58. I learned something today from 5895. If he is to believe, or she is to be believed, distilled water will not conduct electricity. Did you know that?
I'm going to find out.
I'm going to find out myself. Brian Wilson, are you familiar with whether or not distilled water will conduct electricity?
Well, let's just stop for a moment because I need to say something and get it off my chest. You touch my glass. and I think I speak for Cabana Wife on this one. If you touch her glass, there are going to be repercussions. I want my glass.
Well, you've got it. It's in
and
it.
I can give you the answer. Distilled water has no minerals, therefore it's just pure water. It does not conduct. It's the minerals in the water that allow the conductivity.
Oh, man. Professor
I went to
Wilson.
science class in the 7th grade.
But you can also use your fingers.
You can use your fingers. Professor Wilson is laying it down. What can we expect from the professor starting at 3 o'clock today?
Well, I'll tell you what you can expect. We're doing a deep dive on Walz. Who is he? What does he stand for? And already he's out there misrepresenting himself in a huge way, and we're going to get to that. And then one of the great controversies, I think, of our age, why are they messing with the alphabet song?
What?
The alphabet song, A, B, C, D.
E, F, G.
They're now singing it in a different way.
What?
Yes. And there's some things that are just sacred, folks. Why do we have to mess with everything?
I just thought you were talking about Tennessee, where we're taking out D, E, and I.
No, but you're gonna hear the new alphabet song, and it will offend you deeply.
Well, the 21st century has not turned out in the manner in which I thought it would, and Brian Wilson will break it all down for us coming up in mere seconds after Jay Harper's newscast. The Brian Wilson Cabana Wife Cup is back in the box where it was supposed to be. That announcement made by me, mainly because I know how tall Brian Wilson is and how angry he will get from someone like myself stealing his stuff. He's coming up next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So long, everybody.